Alright, we're out here at Mike Stout's shop and we're going to do a little bit of talking about torch operations, lighting, cutting, and shutting it off.
Ready? This is a standard, pretty standard acetylene torch, acetylene oxygen. It's probably the most common torch that there is. It's not as cheap as running propane, but it makes a lot better cut than a propane oxygen torch does, which you'll see a lot in demolition type work. Most of the shops have acetylene torches in them. This is pretty basic. Red is always the gas, the acetylene, which is always shut off down here at the base. Oxygen is green, and the oxygen on the base of the torch is supposed to be on completely or open 90%, because you control your oxygen to sharpen your point, which we'll talk about here in a second, to sharpen the flame, your blue flame, which we'll show you here in a second. That's how you get it to, you get your best cut when you have a sharp blue flame, and you control that by setting your oxygen here. And then the center hole is where you get your oxygen that blows the slag away. A clean tip is key to making a good cut, a good fast cut, and keeping your slag pushed away from where you're doing. We're going to light this up here, and we'll make a cut on this, give a little demonstration of setting the torch up. You got to also have a striker to light the torch. I wear my striker on my belt just because it's convenient, but you have to be careful because you're lighting the flame up close to your pants, your body. Right now I just have the acetylene on. That's just pure acetylene burning. That's just a little bit of the blue flame that you see in there is just a little bit of, probably a little bit of oxygen leaking through the torch, plus the air. Now, drawing it down. Now you'll see that the blue tips, they're pretty close, they're pretty sharp. But you'll see that they're not all the same length. That's a key, that's a dirty tip. That's the acetylene holes are actually a little bit dirty on this tip. That's why they don't look all the same length. But that's still not a bad cut. Now we're going to cut this. This is just a piece of 1/8" plate. It'll cut pretty easy. You want to, when you start your cut, you get the metal cherry red at the beginning, and then as soon as it's red and hot enough, then you put your oxygen by the handle. You never want to, you don't want to drag it to you because you're blowing the sparks back after you. And you don't want to cut backwards because, and by the way, these are number 5 cutting glasses, which is pretty standard for cutting. And most people will tell you they can cut without them. They can cut without them, but they won't cut a very straight line because it gets really hard to see it when you're concentrating on it. That's pretty standard. It's not a bad cut. Pretty quick, a little bit of slag, which you're always going to have with this type of cutting. I also have a piece just to show you a little bit of differences. That was cutting an 1/8" piece. This is cutting a 3/4" piece. The trick is with cutting thicker metal is you have to keep it hot all the way through, or you're not going to blow the slag completely out of the cut. And your speed is real critical, because if you go too fast, it'll do the same thing. It'll blow the slag back at you and you won't get a good cut. Right now you'll see that the blue flame is getting longer. That means that we're running out of oxygen. My oxygen tank is probably going empty. You can tighten it up a little bit by bringing the oxygen down, but eventually it's not going to cut anymore because we run out of oxygen. When you're done, always shut the acetylene off first, and then make sure you shut your oxygen off tight.